Good morning, all. I am Tex Homer. That is Ian Boyd, and this is the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. And today we're going to discuss a powerful, lethal formation that Sark could utilize more than usual with some new players that can do a lot of fun stuff. But before we discuss this, head over to Inside Texas, where you can join for just $1 for new members. The link is in the description below. If you're a regular watcher of the channel, come join the board. There's much more content. Also, you can interact directly with the staff, ask them any questions that you have. All right, Ian, I was excited about this piece. I was excited when you told me about it. Let's set the stage before we even go into the piece, but why are we even talking about this type of formation? What's the relevance?
Let's see here. How do we put this? Texas loves bunch formations. They used to use them a little more. They have always wanted to use them a lot more. They had young receivers last year. They were a little small. And now they have like the main three guys in the receiver lineup are all big physical dudes that block.
And have the weight to do so.
Yeah. And even I listed Mosley, his roster listing. I just copied that in the article. And he's listed in the spring roster at 6'2", 190. And Eric chimed in the comments, our proprietor of Inside Texas, Eric Nalin, and said that he's actually back up to 205, which is better for this, right?
Yeah.
So they've got 3 6'2" or 6'3" and 205 to 215 pound receivers. And they're not all just big and long, but they're also physical, proven blockers.
Yeah. Well, let's quickly talk about a team that utilized this well. I want to spend more time about how it relates to Texas, but let's set the stage on how LSU was able to utilize this plan of attack.
The 2019 LSU Tigers, the greatest college football team of all time, used bunch pretty often. It wasn't their, I think they're just a normal 11 personnel spread was one of their big things. And they were actually, they were a hardcore empty team. Like they'd spread 5 guys out all the time. That's not what we're talking about today. But that was something they did that was really great. But then they had the flip side of it, which was bunch, where they'd bring in like 3 receivers. And if you scroll down, I'll show the common formation. We can just scroll back up and down to it. This is like one of your typical common bunch formations. So you got one receiver. I put Z that's like isolated out away from the core. Then you have like a normal off-ball tight end at Y. And then one receiver right pretty much next to him and just outside on the line of scrimmage at X. And then you're probably your smaller guy outside of him, back off the ball with the Y. If you watch McVay, sometimes he actually plays with things where the Y goes to different spots. And he does all kinds of stuff out of it. It's just really no limit to what you can do. But this is like one of the core ways that teams do it. And this is the way LSU did it. And a lot of times they would do it because for as good as their receivers were at a million different things, they were also all good, willing blockers. Like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, that's never what people talk about with them, but it worked. They blocked. And so like they had a thing where it's like maybe somebody gets tackled, it's 2nd and 2, it's 3rd and 2. They just like hurry up to the line up in bunch, maybe bring in their blocking tight end, maybe leaving Thaddeus Moss, Randy's son, who was like a tight end, who was like 6'6", 230. And they'd like bunch them all in and then run duo with all the receivers blocking on the edge. And then they had Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back. And they were all good blockers. So it was just terrific. If you scroll up, we can watch the clips. This is one of the only running plays that LSU ran all year in 2019.
So you see it's a vertical run game here from LSU. So you see guys climbing up to second level, going forward. Well, it's able to make some quicker cut.
It's not even necessarily that they're climbing up to the second level. It's that because it's a bunch receivers, their targets are necessarily at the second level.
Yeah, you see the easy block here on 19. I mean, it's not a great blocking, but
It doesn't really have to be,
yeah,
because what you're doing is you're extending the surface and creating more gaps.
correct.
And then guys have trouble. If you have a really fast running back with good vision who can bounce runs, then you have this like extended surface that where he can pick his spot.
So this is the damned if you do, damned if you don't. So we can talk about the gap. Go ahead.
Both of those plays, they tempo to the bunch duo play. You can see in both of my clips, the Texas and then Alabama are like just lining up as they're snapping the ball. And then Edwards on duo, he presses the A gap to the T side in the diagram that you're scrolling away from.
Oh, I thought you were actually referencing the play.
Just in general, the way a duo works, you would press up to that A gap between the box center and then the guard below him, read the linebackers, and then go where they ain't, as they might say.
Yeah, wherever so duo, one of the basic ways to distinguish like inside zone and duo, but there's so many variations it breaks. But generally, you're not reading the linebacker as your main key on inside zone. Duo, you are generally reading second level. So wherever that linebacker fits, you go the opposite of it, opposed to reading a down lineman. So that's there's like three ways to distinguish sometimes. But yeah, he's reading that linebacker. If the linebacker fits, he goes the opposite direction.
So what happens in both those clips is the linebackers both end up rocking back to the duo side, and then he actually goes to the left side front door through like the B gap. You can go to the clips now, and we'll see it. Keeping you light, gotta stay light on your toes today, Connor. I'm bringing you up and down.
You got me.
See, he's aiming for the bunch side with the ball. Presses up, sees where the linebackers are. They're all trapped backside, and he goes out the front door. Touchdown. And he's quick, obviously.
See this one. This is Bama versus LSU. Good blocking here by the bunch.
Exact same thing.
Right there. Big run. Do you like because to me duo is nice, but what's fun about this formation is you can do anything. Like you can run all your counters out of it, you can run all your zones, you can pin and pull, you can sweep, you can get to the edge with fast. Did you just like that LSU did this, or do you think duo is specifically a valuable play for Texas?
Well, Sark wouldn't limit himself to one play.
He won't, but I'm saying this kind of hinted that the duo is the base.
Duo is great. McVay bases in outside zone,
right?
But he runs a lot of duo from bunch because it makes a lot of sense. But they pair really nicely where you can run duo and then you can run weak outside zone. And weak outside zone is just designed to exploit the exact same thing that Clyde Edwards-Helaire was exploiting here, which was you load one side of the field and then you press hard to the other side, and the defense all gets caught to the bunch side and get flanked by outside zone, or they overrun it and get cut back, whatever. They all pair very nicely. What I like about bunch is not the opportunity to run duo. Texas doesn't need bunch to run duo. They could do it from 12 personnel. They could do it a million different ways. They could do it with RPOs like LSU did from normal. It's not, oh, now we can run duo. It's what makes bunch great when you have good blocking receivers that are good receivers in their own right, is that you can play to the defense's weakness. There's always two elements of strategy. There's playing to your strengths, and then there's playing to your opponent's weakness. And whenever you can do both at the same time, that's like the pinnacle of effective strategy. But if you have to choose, a lot of times playing to your opponent's weakness is better than playing to your own strength.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
got
Sometimes,
down
yeah.
in your eyes. I have no idea what you're.
I'm just gonna stonewall you all.
A little poker face. He's like,
Well, I just think, yeah, and explain what that means actually schematically here. I'll give you a quick what I think. I think you do cover it in the article. You have the split end receiver here. If you want to keep two safeties high, and some teams will just keep two safeties high because they'll say I'm a too high safety team. Okay, great. Well, now you have all this gap creation here that you can do good stuff with. How do they solve all these gaps that you've created? Do they need to sub in an outside linebacker and put a Sam here and a bigger guy? Okay, now we can outflank them because they're slower. If they keep the nickel, okay.
well, worse than that, if they play a Sam, you don't get to sub after the offense lines up in formation.
Correct.
You have to sub based on personnel. So if you see, Texas is in 3 receivers, 1 tight end, you have to choose then and there. Are we playing with base personnel and a big linebacker in case they go bunch? Or are we playing with our extra defensive back in case they pass? And then you can't see them line up in bunch and then go, oh, never mind, get out here real quick, run to this. You can't do that. So if they play the coverage guy at nickel, then either he has to be really good right here on the ball, taking on a blocker when it's like a Mosley or Wingo coming down at him, or you have to maneuver your personnel in like a really unique way to make
and
up.
not just your nickel. Your corner has to be able to tackle and play the run because you can get outside here. So it's like even if the nickel's doing a great job, you have fast running backs, and that's what's important. Texas does have that. You can get outside, so that corner better be able to hold that edge and be aggressive as well. If you do put the Sam in where that nickel would be, great. Now we're getting out of bunch and we're going spread, and now your Sam has to cover space, and then we're going to key in on him. So you have an answer there too. You have all the weak side runs that you can do as well. And then if your final solve is, okay, we can't figure this out, let's drop a safety down into the box and go single high. Well, great. Now you have awesome wide receivers like Bishop, like Coleman, like Wingo, like Mosley, a tight end, whatever we can figure out there as a downfield threat. So you have these forced defenses into answers, and you should have the counter answer available when you have the correct personnel, which I believe we do.
Yeah. I think Coleman is a good blocker, so he could do either. But Coleman is the solo side Z is going to terrify people initially. And then I think with time, Jermaine Bishop as the solo side Z is also going to terrify people. I would, even against Ohio State, I think I would consider having a few sets where we line up in this and we put Jermaine Bishop to the solo side and see if Ohio State is like, we have Devin Sanchez. Have at it, freshman. We're not worried about you. And then see if Devin Sanchez can actually cover Jermaine Bishop one-on-one. Because as we've talked about a million times, Bishop is a different level of open field athlete. And if you don't have him scouted and don't know what you're up against, and the first time he like hits a route break on you and downshifts, it could be the end, right?
Yep. Yeah, you hope they have the early arrogance against him. So if that way they keep one corner, they try to go single high, you still have options over the top. If they stay too high, you have the run game. Now, to be honest, if I'm a defense playing Texas, I'm still staying too high and making Texas prove that they can run from condensed sets. So that's still, to me, the answer is on the whiteboard right now, but it's not. It's theoretical because Sark's played a lot of condensed. Sark's played tight bunch, and they haven't been able to. So it would all be the personnel change.
There's other problems too, though. Like you go too high, like the sweep series that McVay has out of this. If you imagine if like Wingo is the off-ball H or something, off-ball, and maybe the bunch is to the boundary, and then you send Wingo in motion to the field on a speed sweep, like that's not fun.
And you've got like weak side counter stuff where you can really get guys on corners, and then you can crack down you can crack down and like technically they'd have to do like block an end, but they're not blocking an end. It's getting to the perimeter so fast the end's not getting there. So there's a lot of ways to get to the perimeter weak and strong side that matches up big bodies on little DBs. And once again, the key here is the backs with the quickness to get outside. And even if they don't, I like this too because there's this fail-safe component that like even if you can't necessarily get the push, the back can just go, there's no one over here. Like I'm going to get out, and you can still get some explosives too, even if you don't perfectly execute. I like that part. And I want to stress, I talked about it on Monday. When we see condensed, like your first thought when you're learning football is like, why am I doing this? Like, why would you not play total spread with these wide receivers? You're still creating a ton of space here. You see how much space is to the bottom of the screen here. So it's still another way to create space. It's not anti-spread, even though it can appear that way. It's just another way of getting to a spread. And it forces defenses into obvious looks. So you're going to know if they're going to be too high or one high. But also Pax talked about it, that teams will just kind of base call this and just do expandable zones that you can anticipate. Pack also talked about the defenses are tired of this and are trying to find alternative ways to not just end up in zone every time. But if you do play man, people are so tight in crossing, you get cooked up. So a lot of times too, you're just going to get these kind of predictable zone looks, and it can make it easier on offenses.
Yeah. That makes sense. I don't know how you play man against this.
They do try. I was watching a NFL film study that the Chiefs were playing kept playing man, and they would do what Sark's going to do. They would like motion. They'd have Kelsey actually starting out wide, and then they would motion him into the bunch, and then they would flare him back out, and the guy that was supposed to be man on Kelsey would get caught in the trash the whole time, and they'd get a free 5 yards. So teams will try to play it, especially if you don't line up directly in bunch. You start off spread, and then you motion into bunch. That's how you can do it too, to try to force the man.
We have some bunch series in our flag team, and we started leaning on it because everybody in our league was playing man, and we were not cooking it the way I thought we should. And so it's like, screw this. And we got into bunch, and they just started grabbing and holding us every play, and they couldn't do anything. We like didn't even get that deep into the bag, and we almost pulled off this like big comeback against the top team. Because
defenders, they're lazy in their alignments on this too, because they're not super experienced with it, and they get wigged out by all these people being close. So they'll end up in these man alignments, meaning like where they should be if they were in man, but they're not in man, they're in zone. So they like have this tendency to get over the guy when they should have always stayed near their zone. So defenders start doing weird stuff and being out of position here, even though the coaches will coach it correctly, it starts to freak them out.
Hit your break, and then I'll come back to that point.
Okay, cool. You got a couple of minutes on it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, before we get back, guys, let's hear a word from David McClellan.
Big financial decisions don't have to feel overwhelming. There's someone who can guide you every step of the way. David McClellan is a fiduciary financial advisor with Forum Financial, and he's working closely with his clients as a true financial life coach, guiding every aspect of your financial journey with expertise and care. If his name sounds familiar, that's because David was a swimmer at Texas and a member of several national championship teams. Today, he channels that same championship mindset into helping people win with their finances. David specializes in financial planning, and he's contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. And right now, David is offering viewers a free intro consultation to assess your financial situation. Do not miss this chance to get personalized guidance from a trusted expert. To schedule your free consult, email David at dmcclellan@forumfinancial.com, or you can call him directly at 312-933-8823. The contact info is in the description.
All right. Defense is getting out of alignment when they get wigged out by these formations.
Well, it's not even so much out of alignment. It's the same thing as like when fans are like, hey, don't give them space. Stop giving them easy space to throw into. Get right on your guy and stay with him, right? And then you do that against bunch, and you put yourself in a serious hole because as much space as there is on this diagram to the bottom outside, it's a lot more on a field because this is not to scale, right? And so when you bunch up, like you said, it is actually, it's almost like just another way to take advantage of spread spacing, because you create enormous swaths of grass to the outside or for the Z potentially. And then they all bunch in, and then maybe it's like a corner to that point by McHale earlier that you had up for a long time. When everybody's bunched in and a skill player with the ball in their hands breaks out of the scrum, it's 6. You're in so much trouble. And if even if you're not even playing man, but you're playing like a match zone, but you're just trying to stay in close vicinity to your guys, then the ball spits out, as Sark likes to say, and everybody's trapped inside. And not only can you get trapped inside trying to keep up with your guy, you can get trapped inside trying to pursue after a completed catch. And it's bad in college football. For anyone that does flag, it's brutal in flag because everybody's time and reaction is obviously like way slower than in a college or NFL game. So if you get the ball, once the ball's outside, it's already over.
And they're normally not at, like you said, proper depth. So that running back or whoever it is, the wide receiver can get equal with that corner because he's not playing far back enough, trying to get to his zone. That once they're even, you're leaving too. So it's like they take really bad angles from not the proper depth, and it's a touchdown if you get to the outside. And if you're not sound on keeping your edges too, running back can just decide to go rogue and pop it.
And as you said, Texas has the ideal running backs for this.
Yep.
Like Smothers definitely has some of this. I think Smothers probably be good at the Edwards-Hilaire deal of pressing it and then bouncing front door. Raleek Brown is the optimal bounce back. I think Cooper could do it too, because bouncing runs outside is like the most natural thing for running back.
Yeah, young running backs.
Ever since they were in 3rd grade and realized they were faster than everybody else, all they've ever wanted to do was bounce it to the sideline, right? Niblett could maybe do that. But Raleek, we know Raleek can do it, because do you know who else uses bunch formations all the time, Connor?
Who?
Kenny Dillingham.
Does he?
Yeah. And Raleek Brown ran for 1,000 yards in his offense last year. So
I think the pieces are all there. I don't know how much the offensive line is even going to matter in that regard. That's why I keep calling it like a fail-safe with like duo and climbing, because, I mean, it is a vertical displacement. We're not really known for our vertical displacement, but it doesn't just have to be duo. Like, you see where that Y is? He can now you can do split zone stuff. You can do all the counter gap scheme stuff you want. You can hit weak side. You can do pin and pull stuff where you can get big guys on the perimeter. I mean, all run plays are available to you here too. So that's what's also frustrating and why guys end up in zone, because as long as you're not giving a tendency, meaning that you're not 70% run in your previous games and you're balanced, there's no way to tell really what's coming here. And so even what side you're going to attack. So that's what's also freaks them out and makes them play predictable zones, because you can't tell what they're going to throw at you. If they're going to run vertically to the sideline, there's going to be a pass, which they can easily do. You're kind of forced into a conservative approach here. Do you want to talk about some of the counter ways?
Especially if you do this like Dillingham or McVay do it, and you go pistol or under center. LSU did it from the gun because they just ran duo. They barely did anything else, and they didn't need to. So maybe there's something there. The LSU also had they had a good duo inside zone line, which Texas doesn't. If you want to be more outside zone, you can do this under center. And it's like, well, how are we going to throw RPOs from under center? You don't need them anymore. Don't worry about it. You get under center in this, and now it opens up Sark's full run game playbook, because you have zero tells about where the back is going.
Yeah.
And you create better angles for him to bounce outside. which then creates overplays, which then creates better angles to cut back up the heart of the defense.
Do you want to talk about the Z specifically for a second? I don't know if you're going to continue with the run game, but what I like about that split end is regardless of safety play, he can either join the concept, meaning he can do some type of crosser and be a part of it, but also you can just keep him completely split as a single side, essentially an alert. And that gives you another way too to purely win one-on-one or utilize him in some type of a three-man concept. So it gives a lot of flexibility to that split end too. And if you're not comfortable with the bunch for whatever reason, then it's just like, hey, Cam or Bishop, run the fade.
Yeah. You can give the quarterback options too. From anything that is this distortive to a defensive structure like bunch, where the defense is only going to have like a couple answers to it. Like they don't have like pages and pages and pages of playbook for bunch. If you look at most defensive playbooks, there's usually like a section that's like,
there's a bunch section where they give like 3 checks.
And it's the same 3 checks for every single freaking defensive call. It's like, and if it's bunch, then you got to do one of these 3 things and live with it, right?
Yeah.
And they're all like zone things. So you can give your quarterback pre-snap options and checks at the line that are like not that complicated.
So one thing that Vanderbilt did that was really successful versus Quinn Ewers, and I think Arch will be different.
Oh, yes.
Is they said, screw it. Anytime you go condensed, it didn't even have to be bunch, but anytime you went condensed, we're going to fire that nickel straight at the quarterback. So we're going to eliminate any type of quarterback rollout where the wide receivers are somehow screening for him. And Vanderbilt did it obsessively and had a lot of success with it because Quinn's not very fast. And so that was something they did, was fire that nickel. And the funniest part is they did the same thing. I think it was play 1. It was whenever Wingo scored, they fired that Vanderbilt was going to see, did you solve this? And Sark immediately flipped it out for Wingo to the screen. So Vanderbilt tried to bring it back and then realized that Sark had answered it. But it was very successful versus us. So you can try to be aggressive here and just turn it into an auto blitz and speed up the timing. But I think Arch is better suited to deal with that. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, they were in the spread versus Vanderbilt the second time. And they were like motioning Wingo around for those screens. So like the auto blitz it wasn't the same as auto blitz.
You're right. It wasn't as effective, but still they were like, let's see what this nickel blitz does.
Yeah. They also had like a 220-pound nickel that one year.
Mm-hmm.
It was like he held up in coverage well enough, and they were like a zone team anyway. But then he was like a force on the edge. And then in the article I mentioned, they went bunch backed up on their own goal line against Arizona State. And Arizona State had their big, like 210-pound, very forceful nickel, Shamari Simmons.
Yeah.
And he came back in the second half after a targeting suspension from the Big 12 championship game. Stupid rule, by the way. And they like bring him in, we go bunch, and he immediately gets a safety, like auto. He's either auto blitzing or he just knew what was happening, and it was might as well have been a blitz. And then Caleb Downs blew up that bunch running play where Ryan Wingo missed his block in the semifinal that everyone calls it the worst play call of Sark's career or whatever.
And I disagree, but
I disagree with the design was fine. I think asking Wingo to execute a key block and running a play at Caleb Downs in a key moment was probably not great.
Yeah, mine was more I was okay with it. People were mad that he went outside. And I was like, if you look at the context, he tried to go inside like multiple plays before and on multiple drives before, and they got nothing. So people were mad that he bounced outside. And I was like, guys, he was admitting defeat up the middle. It made sense to call outside, but you're right. Going to Caleb Downs is a little different.
Also, an underreported feature, that Ohio State team had Jeremiah Smith, and he got all the ink. But they were like a historically great red zone defense. Yep. Like their red zone metrics that year were like unbelievably good. Yep. So, and that wasn't something that's not something that people held in their heads going into the game as much. or after the game. It wasn't part of the narrative. So when people look back at that game, they're like, Sark tried to run outside on the goal line.
Yep.
And it's like, that was everything you tried to do against that team was
not
rough.
working. Yeah, he was, to me, it was like a coach that was searching. And so it's like I had respect for him trying and not just running his head into a brick wall again.
They also lost Golden in like the third quarter or something.
Yeah.
Or the fourth quarter or whatever. He got injured. And they were Texas was never going to win that game when Golden was injured.
Yeah.
That was it. So everyone has to accept that too.
But these are ways that teams have broken bunch or taken advantage of condensed. So here's one of the downsides.
I feel like there's another one in the article too that Jalen Peter. Is it Petrie? Peter? Petrie. Sark tried to bunch with 2 tight ends against Baylor in 21 that first year. And Petrie was destroying their tight ends and inflicting tackles for loss and destroyed them. The problem with this is if you invite one of those like really physical, disruptive defensive backs to play in the box where he doesn't have to work to disguise if he's coming off the edge or not, then you can get into trouble because they can flip the script on you.
Yep.
But it has to be, you can't just put Colin Simmons in that end spot. Because obviously Colin Simmons could do that too. But if they do that with Colin Simmons, then you just go back to spread and it's like, bye Simmons, have fun in outer space. It's when it's a defensive back, that's when it can be very problematic. You have to be able to block that guy or this, turns around on you.
So that is one of the downsides is that by condensing, you invite a lot of bodies into the box. So if you are weak on your execution of blocking, whether it's the tight end, wide receivers, or offensive line, you can get into trouble. And then that specific archetype of a big, aggressive, good pass rushing DB nickel type is now literally closer to the quarterback. Now, I think
it's like a Polamalu type or a Roy Williams type.
Yep.
Then it's like,
and particularly versus Quinn, it's always effective. It's hard to, even for any quarterback, because the nickel's like right there. So it's like the quarterback doesn't have much space to read or even react.
Those guys can break down too.
Yep. They can stop. Yeah, you can try to do that and they'll just hang out. But Quinn especially did not have the skill set for that. Arch at least has potential ability to shrug or get movement. So at least I feel slightly better about that, but it's still a disadvantage situation if they have that player.
So here's the obvious follow-up. Does anybody on the schedule have that player?
I don't know. I have done zero nickel research amongst the SEC.
The A&M sort of does, and Dalton Brooks, but they do this crap with him at safety. They don't need you to go bunch to do that.
Yeah. They'll fire him from wherever.
Yeah, it's kind of it's already baked in. Oklahoma likes to play nickels that can do that. They're cheetah. I think they're playing Reggie Powers there this season. I don't know if he's particularly good at this or not, but I think he's like let's see here. I got it pulled up here. Reggie Powers they're always big. Everyone is always big for Oklahoma. 5'11", 214. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of guy that if he's like running through your receiver on the edge on a quick blitz or just blowing by them with force, then you get into real trouble. But then, of course, Texas already has plenty of answers for Oklahoma anyway.
Yeah, I'm not that super worried about Oklahoma because it's just kind of it's a styles make fights there, and their philosophy versus ours is just, I think, what solves it versus individual matchups.
Yeah, or you don't bunch as much against Oklahoma because
that was the thing too, is like there's no rule that you have to stay in bunch. Like if they do start killing you with that, then you just spread out really good receivers, and Archer's really good in the spread too.
Or you go tight ends or whatever.
Yeah, so it's like not that you're not stuck in this in perpetuity. So it's like if they're really good at solving it, great. Let's use one of the other 30 formations that Sark likes to use. So that's what you can do. But if they can't solve this problem, they are keeping 2 high safeties and you can run. If they are dropping to single high, now you have dominant downfield threats that you can get explosives on. So it's like there's a lot of answers and counter answers here that if you can get this, what does Paul call it? Virtuous cycles. If you can get that ball rolling, then you can have a lot going on. And you also have a lot of like crosser action here too that can get you explosives. And Sark's been good at scheming those crossers, and Arch is pretty good at throwing them. What do you think about Arch in
Matt, you can do some nasty mesh stuff in this.
Yeah, exactly. You can get guys bumped off, no problem. And then you can get the over routes going and all of that. So there's a lot. It has everything here. You can break to the flats very quickly, so you can get easy 5 yards, especially if a corner can't tackle. That can turn to 15 before a safety gets there. So there's just a lot of options here. What do you think about Arch, particularly in this condensed world? Because I genuinely like Arch the most in true spread. It seems like now he's a good read guy. He can read, but I don't know if I want to condense it. He can window throw, so it's not like a skill. I just think he's a little bit sharper when they're spread out.
I would like to see him do this from under center. I think he's like been trained for so long to tie his feet and his drops to his progression that I think letting him move, it would be awesome. Because like I saw this old clinic once from it's old now, from Phil Montgomery on Baylor's process for how they were developing quarterbacks in the Bryles era. And they would teach him to like kind of hop in place rather than to time drops so that they could wait and then be in a throwing position very quickly when their receiver would make his decision and his break. Because so often they'd be like, you're throwing it to this guy. Some of the other receivers aren't even going to run routes. They're just going to stand and watch. It was crazy, right? Because they're so spread out. And so the quarterback, it was just be like, we don't want you to have to try to time it with a specific, I'm here and he's going to be there and then I throw. We want you to just be like able to just like bounce in the pocket and be in a ready throwing position to throw when it happens. And Sark almost asks the same thing of his quarterbacks, especially Quinn, because he would design so many plays where it's like, you're throwing it to Golden. You're throwing it to Worthy. Like, maybe you do this if you need to, but we're going to scheme this guy open. And Quinn would do pretty good in that situation because his footwork was garbage anyways.
Right. He couldn't do the nice stuff.
He was always like, he could just arm anything and throw some dimes. Arch is so much more of a rhythm guy. And so I have the suspicion that his, like, some of his problems with crossers and design stuff would be solved if he could play under center and get into a drop. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, he's classically trained. Like, they're getting him ready for the NFL where it's about feet and it's about under center. So I agree. There's something to where Arch is like oddly polished in that regard. And then whenever you let him improv a little bit, not in the run game, or it's like, I can't explain it because it's not improv because it's single read, but it's, I don't know. When he's not progressing 1, 2, 3, and it's just saying hit Wingo over the middle, it's right there. The ball is like, the accuracy is weird. I've really never seen that with a quarterback too. That like it struggles with simple short 1 reads, but can progress to a 4th read backside and hit it. It's the opposite of a college football player.
It's probably also that he was in his head a lot last year early.
I mean, clearly.
And when you're just going open, you're not really thinking as much as you are when it's like, okay, is he open? Should I throw it now? Wait for him to clear this linebacker. You know, it could be part of it that it just compounded the sort of yips that he had. Because he missed so many designers early in the year.
Like Ohio State, he hits that one awesome throw to Livingston. He hits that incredible throw to injuries on the sidelines, and then he can't hit Wingo wide open. It made no sense.
He also missed that Livingston 4th down deep shot. That was like the perfect call, the perfect time, would have totally blown that game open, and Texas would be safely out of the mess they were in against UTEP. And he like just totally airmails it over wide open Livingston running down the middle.
There's also a part of condensed is that the action's happening faster. That I don't know if it's good or bad for a quarterback. Because it's like if you miss your guy, your X is just running over the ball like immediately. It's happening so quick that if you're not able to process bam, 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 you can totally get out of whack. Where in spread, there's more time and space to read. So I also wonder too about condensed is that it does speed up the routes by definition.
That might be good for him. I don't know.
I was going to say, I don't know if it's good or bad.
Nelson says Arch has better arm strength effortlessly. Quinn threw lots of ducks. I think it may actually be the opposite.
Yeah.
Not that Arch throws ducks. He doesn't. Arch rifles the ball. But
yeah, if you can get on Arch, sometimes doesn't have the correct touch. He throws it hard as hell for no reason sometimes.
But I think it's because Arch always brings his legs. And he has big, strong tree trunk lower body. Quinn
throws ducks because everything was back foot. Like Quinn had awesome. Like I think Quinn's arm strength is stronger than Arch's.
Yes.
But Quinn was always on the back foot, fadeaway jump ball, and when you're sometimes that's just going to leave it up in the air for 50. It's not because he doesn't have the arm strength. I mean, you saw that moonshot versus Alabama, but it's like so. I think Arch actually does have a weaker arm, but Arch, like you said, he brings his feet and he brings his hips. And he's in proper things, so the ball looks stronger and faster. But Quinn just like if we asked Arch, hey, like stand on your back foot and throw its sidearm across the field, Quinn could. That's a sign of actual arm strength, not arm weakness in Quinn, even though it had all the problems associated with it.
Yeah, Quinn could throw like a deep comeback with a flick.
Yeah,
and he would usually also he had such amazing touch. Quinn did. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times he would like to feather the ball in rather than rifling it.
I mean, I would argue that's all Quinn had was touch. Like intermediate second layer throws. There's NFL a majority of NFL quarterbacks didn't.
He'd had that too.
He had what?
He had that on the short stuff too.
Right, but I'm saying like if I were to say like this is Quinn's throw, it was sideline intermediate layered ball. Like he threw that better than 90% of NFL quarterbacks. But the problem was he would layer things when you didn't need to layer. And on the flip side is he was really bad over the middle of the field short. And basically we didn't even utilize that part of the field, which is the NFL part of the field, by the way, what scouts are looking for, because he didn't have that like rifle front foot kind of throwing. So it ended up everything had to be at a little bit of distance. It had to be a screen where no one was around or at a distance intermediate. But he couldn't utilize that middle of the field that Arch is utilizing when he does hit it accurately.
He also had a torn oblique, but he was always injured.
That's not true at all, Willpower. He has good arm strength. He just has bad mechanics. I've seen it. We talked, what was it when Quinn was a sophomore in high school, lining up, throwing from the end zone almost to the other end zone? He threw like, yeah. Quinn, there's no problem with Quinn's arm strength. His arm strength's impressive. That's all really what he has, but he doesn't have his feet ever. Everything is thrown here. And so it can do that, but he absolutely has arm strength. He's frustrating with it. He never figured out how to utilize it besides that one throw.
Him and Shane Buechele, I always thought were like natural baseball pitchers that were playing football because it's Texas, I guess. And so it's just more excitement or pressure to play football.
Yeah.
Because neither of them have like, you can imagine Quinn as like, I bet he could have thrown like 98 one pitch and then like
in the stands the other.
No, I was going to say like the sickest junk ball garbage crazy movement the next because he had so much effortless flick.
Yeah, he didn't even, it was always just back here. That's what's so annoying about Quinn is like you saw like trades, he just didn't put it together into proper mechanics to ever maximize. But he had raw arm skill. That was the whole sell on Quinn. It's not that he was like a dynamic runner. All right, before we keep going, we'll talk some more Arch as well. But first, let's hear a word from Andre, the lawyer.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results: Andre the lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
Quinn has touch, just not on the deep ball. Yeah, that one was frustrating. Go watch 2022 Bama where Quinn throws an 18-yard deep out from the opposite hash. Yep, he has that too. It was just a lack of consistency. But even on the screens, even though it's shorter distance, it still showed his arm ability. He was probably one of the best screen throwers I've seen too. It was just always perfectly accurate and good there. Everything had to be touch in the middle of the field, and you could never use the short 5 to 10 yards right in front of you where you need to attack red zone at times.
I have a suspicion that they had some more RPO stuff last year that they wanted to do. And then I don't know if Arch was very good at it.
You've said that a few times.
And they threw he had a couple RPOs like against Ohio State, although I know he had like sort of the yips early. But he had a couple RPOs where it was like, what was that?
Yeah. Do you think that goes back to his hyper focus on one read type thing? I know technically it's 2 reads on an RPO, but
I don't know.
Do you think that goes away, or do you think that's just kind of a weakness of the game? He can get better at it, but it'll be relatively weak to his other strengths.
We'll see.
He also does sick stuff in the end zone, and he did in high school too, where it's like he evades 3 guys and he threads the needle in the red zone too. It's almost like he needs the pressure and the action as well.
For Arch, the action is the juice.
Yeah, I was gonna say remember with Sam, it was like Sam just needs to get hit. Like, go run Sam, let him get popped, and then he'll activate. Arch needs like to avoid 3 rushers, and then he can get going.
That was an unfortunate thing for Quinn. Like, he may have played better if he got roughed up a little bit, but his body was not built for that.
Yeah. 100%. Week 2, Quinn was Sark getting 6 months to prepare. I agree. That's one of my talking points. That Quinn looked best whenever they had those 6 months to prepare, and Sark knew exactly what formation to get them into this defense to hit this guy. Arch is more of a live gamer. I actually worry more about Arch with 6 months of preparation than just throwing Arch in there. I think Arch might be a little too intellectual, and that could lean to the yips early in the season. We'll see it this year. If he looks weird, then he just gets in his head. He has too much time to think, I think.
That was always the thing. If Texas had extra time and attention for an opponent with Quinn, then you knew that Sark was going to bring real heat.
Yeah.
They had stuff. That was basically the case against Georgia in the SEC championship game. They had all kinds of stuff they threw at Georgia, and they threw for like Quinn throw for like 340 yards.
Quinn had a really good game. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but
it was better looking. 1,000.
They had a lot of stuff to throw at them.
Dude, we were false starting and missing kicks. That's the most frustrating Sark game period to me. Still, when I rewatch it, I get furious, and it never doesn't make me mad. Because it's like because the problem was we were doing everything deep and we had no short game in the past. And then Sark started relenting and just sitting receivers down, sitting them down and taking what they were given. It was awesome. And then we just proceeded to shoot ourselves in the foot at all these crucial moments. We should have won that game. And I don't normally feel that way about losses. That one, we just handed away.
We couldn't handle Georgia's pressure.
Yeah.
They destroyed us. They destroyed our protections, and we had a quarterback that, like, if he was pressured, it was over. So
all I remember, it's just false starts in that game. That like
There's a lot of things. There's the awful protection.
there were
There's
drops.
Quinn melting down and throwing picks against pressure. There were some drops that were like good throws by Quinn.
Yeah.
And then there are false starts. That's also a protection issue, though. Like
You start getting nervous and
they
jumping.
were so afraid of Jalen Walker, Michael Williams.
Yeah.
And then they missed. They had like 2 decent drives that stalled out, and then they missed makeable kicks. At least 2, right?
Yeah.
And they gave up a fake punt. And they didn't know how to line up against 4-by-1 quarterback draw.
Yeah. That one was so brutal. Arch was better than QB than Quinn last year. The problem was the rest of the roster declining rapidly.
Yeah.
Definitely by the mid end of the season, for sure.
Me and Connor have banged that drum so many times. So it's only fit that we give Quinn his due at the stuff that he was legitimately great at.
Yeah. Intermediate and screens.
We talk about his flaws way more than
Yeah.
it even makes sense to. So
yeah. But Arch definitely got better in the second half. The first half, Quinn was absolutely a better quarterback because Arch was having that mental strain.
That was a bad spot. That was the worst. I said it before the year and nobody wanted to believe me. The Space Force on that offense was not there. Like they were good with Gooseby, but the receivers were not. It was such a drop from what they'd had.
And the offensive line went to hell in a way that like was
the interior fell apart in a way that was like didn't even realize was possible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you couldn't even predicted it. It was so like laughably bad. If you can just get to average this year, then it's going to look a lot better. You don't need dominance with Arch. You just can't have whatever the hell that was the first few games. UTEP was demolishing us. Like before we were doing deep dive, I was like sending clips of just like, I don't know who this edge is for UTEP, but he's playing like an All-American. And then their interior guy, I mean, it was a joke that UTEP was just stonewalling us.
Well, they shouldn't even block him. They're like, sometimes they blocked him and they blocked the crap out of him. And then like Christian Clark would like go get a cup of Gatorade in the middle of the game instead of running through the hole. There was
in the beginning where they just like the interior wouldn't block anyone. They would just like look around and like consider. Yeah, there was a lot of like bending over, falling over at the waist. Like it was, you couldn't even predict how bad that was going to be. Took Sark forever to realize he could use blue in the passing game. That was a big factor last year. That too is like we didn't have that like insta rail. You know, like blue could just like fire out of the backfield, like it touched its man and you out leverage them, kind of like the idea of a condensed set. And then just get it. We just didn't even have that in the option as like a quick score. That was something that was really important to us. I think returning like running backs that can really catch and get some yak will also, beyond just the run game, be a major factor.
Well, they did have it, and they didn't use it until midway through the year, and it was Ryan Wingo.
Yeah, but I mean running back.
Yeah, but once because what they were really missing, I think, was the like easy insta offense. That's what you're describing?
Yeah, but I'm more describing like matching up with a linebacker, like true positional advantage, because even Wingo is still going to get matched up with a DB at some point.
It might as well have been a linebacker.
Yeah, Wingo's
runs.
Yeah,
I mean, it took them forever to realize that they should just throw like designed screens to Wingo every game.
And then we started it cracked me up, the throw to Wingo opening play. And I was like, all right, guys, this is where 3 weeks down the road, we fake it and Wingo goes deep. And then he did, and we just missed the throw. And I was like, God, man, that's a Sark's offense thing that drives me nuts, is like Sark will put in so much legwork to build these instant 80-yard touchdowns, and we just don't execute them. Like that was the thing with Quinn.
That one was too obvious because it was
it was so obvious. We were like, just wait one of these opening weeks. Like if I could see it.
The worst part is that we had A&M, and so I was like, it's going to be A&M.
Yeah.
it should have been like Arkansas
Yeah.
to to try to create a little hesitation. Because by the time we got to A&M 100% knew
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we were going to run a fake pass with Wingo.
Yeah.
I think we even were saying it before the game. We're like, they're going to run a fake pass with Wingo against A&M. We're all just waiting for it.
Yeah. And so was A&M. But that's a
Yep.
funny aspect. So here's my thing is like, I like tight bunch theoretically. We explained all the ways it stresses defense. There's still a part of me that's just like, Sark just likes guys in the box. Like, this is a way to get similar 12 personnel feeling with 11 personnel when he's just seems avoidant of like true spread as the core fundamental philosophy. And so that part starts to annoy me where I'm just like, dude, we have the guys for true spread. Arch is good at true spread. We saw what happened whenever we made that switch midseason. Why do we keep obsessing with guys in the box? I know the answer, blah, blah, blah. Theoretically, safety does this, but it's just like, it seems like we're always trying to do something that is not obvious to the skill set. Like, we're going to play a ton of 12 personnels with tight ends that can't block. Now we have the stuff to go super spread with fast backs and crazy fast vertical receivers. Nope, let's go tight bunch. It seems like we're always not doing something that's obvious, and not in a chess move way, in like a frustrating way.
Well, I think with this personnel, tight bunch is the obvious right answer.
I mean, I still got to see these guys block. Like, some of this is they weigh 200 pounds, therefore they can block. And
if you watch, go rewatch the Michigan game, how often they ran duo wrap with like Wingo or Livingston coming in motion to add to insert block at the point of attack on like a DB. And they were cooking Michigan.
I do think it's possible because Chris Jackson actually does stress it. And he's like brought in wide receivers that are more well-rounded. But it's still, I mean, you can run spread just as easily from this, and it makes total sense. So it's like, because all those quote-unquote big blocking receivers are also just dominant downfield threats or have the speed to be downfield threats. So it's like
screens.
What'd you say?
They can still block in the spread because you just throw screens.
Correct. So it's just, to me, it's just like Sark has this obsession with condensing.
I get it, because you can get the defense in really predictable sets, and then your play designs are lethal because you know exactly what you're getting and who to attack and how to attack them. And then, so like, I think Sark likes it for the rule thing. Like, if I can just set up a shot, I'm going to hit it a bunch of times if I know I can set it up. And the teams aren't as used to disguising or dealing with that from bunch as they are from like traditional spread sets. And then just the like, what if I could do 12, 13 personnel stuff and bully teams, but I could do it and guarantee that they're in like nickel personnel. That's also extremely appealing.
It's kind of an olive branch where he's like, look, guys, I know you're tired of the 12 personnel. I'll give you 11. We can keep my principles, but there will be more wide. So I think it is still progressing towards a more spread mentality, which is nice at least.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, we know we're good from the spread. We know these guys can do the spread.
It's just pro style. This is what they're doing.
I know, but this is the eternal pro style in a non-pro sport.
Because my guy Max Toscano that did that meme we love so much, it's like, I love this tight end. It's like, do you love him for tight end reasons or wide receiver reasons? It's like, wide receiver reasons.
Yeah.
The McVay and some of these other guys figured out, why are we playing, if we can get the other team into nickel personnel, why do I play another 230-pound tight end that is a pretty good receiver and not that much of a blocker? I could play my 210-pound receiver, who's a much better receiver than the tight end, and if I bring him in to block, they're a nickel. So it doesn't matter that he's not actually a tight end because he doesn't have to block big people in key spots.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. It just seems like, and I get it, but it's just like, look, it seems like the obvious thing is right in front of you, and you're like, yeah, but I run pro style. It's like, all right, well, okay,
Well, that's going to be that way until Sark goes to the pros.
right, and yeah, I get it. So, but it just seems like he's always a little bit counterintuitive on like, here's the obvious clear path, but you're like, no. One final question. I know what Ian's answer is going to be. Do you believe you can win a natty with Sark's philosophy in second halves?
Didn't we argue about this for like an hour once?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, we can just give the abridged version.
Why is that even a question? What are the games that Texas has lost because of?
This is exactly. So my argument was that we just shut off in the second half and go attempt to play bully ball, but it works sometimes. Like there's been a couple games like end of Alabama, I think end of Arkansas one year where we really drove it. So the thing is to shift down and do ball control and sit on a 10-point lead and bleed them out. And Ian's point is like, yeah, that's won us a lot of games, or at least hasn't lost us. My argument to it is that 3/4 of the time we don't ball control. We just go 3 and out a bunch. And so that's annoying. And they do gain back on us. Do they gain back enough to win the game? No, to Ian's point. But to my point is just like, why something was so effective in the first half, why not continue it? And in the modern college football committee that's not very intelligent, winning by 10 to them is like, you let Arkansas get within whatever. When really, if you could just keep going and win by 21, the dumb people that select would feel better. So that's just my thought about second halves. I do wish that we, quote unquote, stayed on the gas.
Here's my counter on the committee thing that I just thought of. You know what's better than trying to blow everyone out to impress the committee is being conservative and making sure that you win enough games where it's not up to the committee to decide which 9-3 team is the right one.
But I mean, but that's also assuming that a style of trying to win in the second half will lead to a loss.
Well, it's risk taking. We already risk take. Like when we say ball control, there's like 3 games where we actually like ran it out. Most of the time, it's our ball control is going 3 and out. That's how they're able to score on us. That's not true.
Catch up.
There's one year where that was true, which was the first year.
No, it's been every year.
No, it hasn't. They've not been a 3 and out second half team. Maybe last year, but not because of a design, but because they sucked.
Yeah, that was a part. But that would be the only year to argue. It's happened several years. There's
they lost, but they weren't a championship team They just weren't very good.
But if you look at our third quarter scoring, it's horrendous. Like that, they've done studies on it. There's something that's occurring after half that is not successful. It's not like put up grind ball and still put up 14 in the I have no problem with the grind ball that puts up 14 points. It's quote unquote grind ball that puts up 0 points. And so that's what's annoying about the second half side.
I don't see the track record of failure. Nelson
you don't see the track record of losing games, right?
Yeah.
And I agree because there's nothing to argue about.
So Nelson counters with, what about Clemson and Arizona State games? Well, Clemson, Texas blew it open by continuing to run the ball. I don't understand that example at all. Like they ran for over 200 yards on Clemson. And they were like,
he's just talking about Cade making a comeback, but that can be a little bit.
It would have happened no matter what Texas did.
That was on defense. Yeah, that was the spread was cooking us on defense.
Yeah. In the Arizona State game, a big reason that Arizona State got back in the game was the interception that Quinn threw trying to throw a post. Because Sark
which is aggressive.
They're like, let's try to get some points on the board. We can't run the ball on this team. So that was the problem wasn't let's play it safe. The problem was we can't run on Arizona State. which was a nasty surprise. And
Which-
so they tried to get aggressive, and he threw a pick, and that was a big reason why Arizona State got the possessions they needed to come back in that game. Arizona State ran like 90 plays to 50 for Texas, and it was like Texas cooked them in the opening script, and then they could not execute any base offense against Arizona State.
I
And
just
they still won. So I don't. If I'm listing problems that are holding Texas back from a national championship, Sark's second half strategy is not in the top 10. I bet even Connor could come up with 10 bigger problems for Sark era Texas than second half strategy.
yeah, red zone would be
Red zone's number one, right?
Yeah, red zone would be 1 or 2, and then
Uh-huh.
offensive line ability to enforce their will would be 1 or 2. So I would flip flop one of those. But I do get annoyed with the second halves. It's because if we were just kind of bad the whole time, I wouldn't even notice it. But it's just like we get up like 17 or 21 or whatever, just like at will, and then it just disappears. That's why the whole narrative that I'm part of too is that like his scripts were nice. Then that stopped too, and we started not even scoring on the first drive. But it's like the scripts and the designs were really good, but once we got into live fire, it would start to fall off. But there is something to it. I think it is ultimately that like we try to play ball control without a ball control offensive line. And so the score from earlier in the game allows us to survive uncomfortably at times where it, if they got one more drive, they might have beat us type thing. But I don't think we have ball control offense when we try to play ball control.
This or tight end, this being bunch or tight ends are answers for that because it gives you a chance to run the ball and like kind of impose your will even without a dominant ball control line. Is if you can run behind your tight ends or you can run behind your receivers. I like the tempo strategy, weaponized pace strategy, Steve Kerr strategy, where it's like, let's go hard and be the better conditioned, deeper team. And when we get to the later rounds, the other team is going to fold because they're exhausted. And so we will, that's the argument for like the aggressive pace strategy. Is if like we push the tempo and we go hard, the other team is not going to be used to that style. And then at the end of the game, we're going to win because they're going to be exhausted and we will blow them out late and totally control things at the end. But that's also extremely risky to do it that way. It's just all about what are you better at doing. And that's not what Sark is good at doing. That's not what he's training and developing this team to be good at. He's training and developing them to be good at second half ball control.
You should execute your plan, forget the committee. That's just an excuse. I get that. If I was in a world where perception didn't matter, but it does matter. Like Miami running up score at the end of the season helped them get in. So it's like that's just the reality of it. Do I wish it wasn't true? And I like the art of winning by one because you can win by one and dominate a team. If you know football, you can do that. But the committee has like 30 games on, and they're not watching that. And so they just see, did you let Vanderbilt almost come back? Did you do that? That's all they see. So you have to rely on their perception, especially with the number one ranked hardest schedule this season. They're not going to value that, even though it's going to be harder. It's like you're going to have closer games. It would be better if you didn't.
You know what the
reality of it.
You know what the real bias was that got Miami in? Is that they couldn't leave an ACC team out.
Yeah.
And they beat Notre Dame. It wasn't because they ran up the score. Y'all are falling for Sark's narrative. Like Sark went after Miami for running the score up at the end of the year as part of his political campaign.
Yeah.
Which is great. He's advocating for his patient, right?
Yeah.
I don't find fault with Sark. But be aware that was not really the issue. The issue was that the ACC screwed up their championship game rules and they left Miami out of the championship game. And then they had, Duke versus Virginia for the title. And so they couldn't let in the winner of that. I can't even remember who the winner was. It like 8-4 Virginia won the ACC or something. And so they had 10-2 Miami sitting there, and they couldn't leave out the ACC, but they couldn't elevate the ACC champion. And they were already having to play like James Madison and who was the other school that got in where their coach was Tulane, where the coaches were like busy leaving. Yeah, that was the problem. That was.
But and then look, if Texas just gets to 10 wins, then you're good. Like just get to 10. But this is a hard ass schedule, and so it's like my due diligence as a propagandist is to introduce this idea for if Texas does go 9-3. And so that's my thing is because here's reality: if there's a 9-3 Texas and a 9-3 equal brand, and Texas doesn't have the put Texas in because they're going to bring more money, then you do start to look at these score differentials. They did look at as like a third point of like, hey, you guys played Kentucky, Mississippi State too close. So it's those things. It does matter. The score does matter. The perception does matter. Once you get into 9-3, if you're 10, good. But you might not get to 10 with this crazy schedule, even if you're meaningfully better. So I think it's just a responsible Texas propagandist to introduce that we should use nuance going forward. All right. Just win, baby. I hope that's the case. Everyone head over to Inside Texas. Join for $1, new members only. That link is in the description for you. Everyone stay tuned in for the rest of the shows today. And everyone have a great one. See you later.